Welcome to today's Explainer. We're unpacking something totally unprecedented today, a piece of source material that flips a classic, legendary narrative completely on its head. When we think of Gotham's most infamous villain, the Joker, what comes to mind? Probably elaborate schemes, high-stakes chaos, and above absolutely everything else, that trademark, piercing, manic laughter, right? It's his signature, it's literally his entire identity. But what happens when the laughter just stops? Today, we're exploring a bizarre and honestly fascinating parody that breaks down how Gotham's Clown Prince was utterly defeated. And the crazy part? He wasn't taken down by a superhero or locked up in a high-security prison. He was taken down by an existential threat to his very concept of comedy.
So what does it actually take to silence Gotham's loudest villain? We're so used to the idea that the Joker is totally unbreakable, that no amount of physical force or intense psychological profiling can wipe that massive smile off his face. Yet, the source material we're diving into reveals a scenario where he is completely neutralized. It really challenges us to look away from those usual explosive comic book showdowns and instead look at a completely different kind of battleground. We really have to ask ourselves, if the greatest detective in the world couldn't quiet him down, what uniquely modern phenomenon finally did the trick?
Section 1. Gotham's Comedy Crisis.
Okay, let's dive right into this by defining the exact premise we're working with here. We're looking at a parody event centered around the classic You Laugh, You Lose internet challenge. Now, for those who might not be familiar, this is a super popular online format where someone watches a compilation of videos and tries their absolute hardest not to crack a smile, let alone laugh. Now, I want you to imagine putting the Joker into that seat. The whole premise here is that the Joker attempts to react to modern internet content without laughing. But the twist, and this is where the real crisis kicks in, is that the result isn't some epic struggle to contain his laughter. Instead, it becomes what the source material explicitly calls Gotham's most depressing spectacle. He isn't fighting the urge to laugh at all. He's confronting an entirely new, alien reality of comedy.
Section 2. The Depressing Challenge.
Let's look at how this builds such a depressing progression, step by step. Step 1. The Joker, a total master of dark, chaotic humor, sits down and attempts the challenge. He's totally ready to engage. Step 2. He's forced to react specifically to modern youth jokes. We're talking about the absolute bleeding edge of current internet humor. And then we hit the crushing conclusion. Step 3. He finds nothing funny. Literally not a single thing. Just think about the sheer gravity of that for a second. A character whose entire existence is built on finding the absurdity and humor in the world is presented with the comedy of the newest generation, and he feels absolute zero comedic spark. It's a fascinating step-by-step deconstruction of his entire worldview.
Section 3. The Kid Humor Clash.
There is just a stark contrast at play here, and it's so interesting to break down. On one side, we have the Joker's expectation of comedy. Based on his long history, his humor relies heavily on a setup, a punchline, intense theatricality, deep irony, and usually a grand, chaotic reveal. That's his art form, right? But on the exact opposite side, we have modern kid humor. This represents the hyper-fast, incredibly surreal, totally context-free barrage of internet joke. A parody we're analyzing highlights a massive, unbridgeable disconnect here. The Joker expects a certain rhythm and logic to comedy, but modern kid humor operates on a completely different frequency. It's like they're speaking a foreign language. The clash isn't just that he dislikes the jokes, it's that his brain doesn't even register them as comedy in the first place.
And that brilliantly illustrates the ultimate takeaway from this whole clash. To put it as simply as the text does, absolutely nothing is funny. Let the crushing weight of that realization sink in for a moment. This isn't just the Joker having a temporary bad mood. No, this is a profound, incredibly depressing epiphany for him. He sits through the absolute gauntlet of modern youth jokes, the pinnacle of the internet's You Laugh, You Lose challenge, and his conclusion is final. The parody strips away his laughter entirely by exposing him to a comedic landscape he just cannot comprehend. It literally leaves him completely hollowed out.
Section 4. The Final Silence. So what are the exact reasons for his silence as established by the text? Well, let's break it down. First, the direct exposure to modern kid humor. That was the real catalyst. It was this highly specific, bizarre brand of comedy that broke the camel's back. Second, the totally depressing failure of the You Laugh, You Lose challenge itself. And keep in mind, he didn't fail by laughing. The event failed as a concept because it produced the exact opposite of its intended reaction, creating a profound depression rather than amusement. And finally, the ultimate reason for his total silence, the tragic realization that nothing is funny anymore. It's a complete, devastating psychological defeat. His silence isn't a choice he's making, it's the inevitable symptom of outliving the comedic tastes of the entire world around him.
Ultimately, Gotham's most depressing challenge is officially completed. This parody just perfectly encapsulates a tragic comedic downfall. The Joker wasn't beaten by fists, or high-tech gadgets, or brilliant detective strategy. His spirit was broken by the flat, totally incomprehensible reality of modern internet jokes. The challenge actually worked, but in literally the most ironic and devastating way possible. He didn't laugh, and in doing so, he lost the very core of what made him who he is.
I want to leave you all with this final question to really ponder today. Is outgrowing humor the ultimate tragedy for a clown? It's such a fascinating, almost philosophical takeaway from this parody explainer. Think about it. If your entire identity is built around being the one who gets the joke, what happens when the world invents a brand new language of jokes that you simply don't understand? The Joker's final silence really forces us to think about how culture rapidly evolves, and how even the most enduring, chaotic forces can be quietly rendered completely obsolete by the simple passing of time and the changing of a punchline. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this sparks some curiosity for you. And as always, I encourage you to keep questioning the narratives around you. Catch you next time.